Hi guys, and welcome to another edition of The Kevin Moore Show. Now on today's show, I'm about to be joined by my guest, Tere Joyce. Now just to give you a bit of background on Tere, she is the host of the Freedom of Joyce Show, which broadcasts on YouTube and Revolution Radio. She's a street activist and socially conscious artist who makes music, comedy, and everything else in between. And she's covering a number of important subjects right now on her show. So this interview was recorded a couple of weeks ago in Los Angeles, and enjoy my interview with Tere Joyce. Well, Tere Joyce, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So we've just sort of reversed the tables here. You've just done an interview on me, which I do appreciate, and now it's my turn to speak to yourself. I think what I'll do, I'll link the previous interview just below, and for what we did as well, because it kind of ties into this interview. So, just tell me to begin with, right? You're on Freedom Radio?
I'm on American Freedom Radio.
American Freedom Radio, okay.
I've been with them for, I think, about 3 years now, and the first alternative radio network that's in our world was Revolution Radio. I became a host there in 2014.
What made you get into this work then?
Okay, well, my background is stand-up comedy, and I worked for over 25 years all over the United States and Canada, traveling and touring, and then my claim to fame is that I was a top 10 finalist on the first season of Last Comic Standing, which is which was a reality show here in the United States that ran for a really long time. I don't know if they still have it going on, but so I did that, and then from there I ended up in a raid at a medical marijuana dispensary I was in the doctor's office in the same building as a medical marijuana dispensary, and the dispensary was raided, and I was held up by gunpoint by the FBI and all of it. And because of the fact that I was doing a marijuana themed show in Pasadena, and was getting involved politically at that time, I had been on Last Comic Standing. I was in the cover of the Pasadena Weekly with the words "Bonglos of Justice," and I'm blowing up marijuana smoke and the American flag, and how a DEA raid turned me into a missionary for medical marijuana. So that got me into doing alternative media. I started out on New Dissident Radio, which was basically a comedy channel that had Kelly Carlin, who was like George Carlin's daughter, was on it, and various people. And I created a show called Hollywood Hemptress Hour. And from there, I was on the Time for Hemp Network. And then I was watching Carrie Cassidy and Project Camelot and a lot of the things that were online about the New World Order and this and that. And I followed Max Spears, the Super Soldier program, and things like this. I ended up being interviewed by a host named Roxy Lopez. She did a show called The Truth Denied on Revolution Radio. And Bernard Alvarez, they interviewed me. After I did interviews on Revolution Radio, they asked me if I wanted to be a host. And I kind of felt that I was leading into this direction anyways, because I wanted to talk about more than just cannabis, because that's just one little octopus of everything else that's going on, right. Big pharma, everything. And so at that point, I created the Freedom of Joyce Show, and I joined the alternative radio network.
So your website is?
My current website at the moment is freedomofjoyce.net. It's a blog site. I haven't really blogged on it for a long time. I do have freedomofjoyce.com. So please check me out on my new website that's coming up there.
Right, so and you've got a YouTube channel as well?
I do. Tere Joyce is my YouTube channel, and you can Freedom of Joyce Show on there. Okay,
well, we'll link that again below in the description of this video.
Okay.
So, you came to my attention recently because obviously I saw some of your videos where you were sort of not just going against some of the players in this field, like I will say Miles Johnson, Carrie Cassidy, and some other people as well.
Yes.
And I didn't pay too much attention to it, right? This interview with me and you right now has happened very organically. Do you know what I mean? It was it was something that we wanted to do, but we happen to be here in LA filming the Mark Richards documentary. So I thought, well, let's do this as well. Just explain what you've discovered and what it is that.
Okay. Yes. One of the things that came to my attention was within the first year of being on Revolution Radio. First thing I noticed was a website called Confessions of a Former White Hat, which was written, or it was revealed, because at one point nobody knew who the writer of that particular book was, but it was a man named Michael Hemmingson, who apparently has connections to Michael Aquino and the Temple of Set. Now, so let me get to this. When I first discovered that particular blog site, I was doing an interview of a man named Stephen D. Kelly, who was also a host on Revolution Radio. Now, Stephen's story is, and Kerry Cassidy has interviewed him as well, is that he's an ex-CIA NSA contractor. His claim to fame is that he made laser techno guns, was one of the first forerunners, and that he was associated with the Olive North gang, and some of his guns went with the Iran-Contra exchange. He became a whistleblower on the scene in 2012, and when I was researching him, I stumbled on a ridiculous article on Former White Hat where it said that he was a clone, and the real Stephen D. Kelly was on ice underneath the museum, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, what is this? And when I interviewed him on my show, I made a joke about it. I thought I was joking. I go, yeah, I heard you were a clone. And then he got real serious, cleared his throat, and goes, yeah, well, that guy isn't alive anymore. Okay. Michael Hemmingson left the station right before I joined Revolution Radio. Michael Hemmingson had a show on Revolution Radio, and he was the Mike Ringley, Nighthawks, apparently a really good friend of his. The reason why I'm giving you this background, because it comes to play with some of the other things that I have actually discovered about Kerry Cassidy and her association to Revolution Radio, Mike Ringley, and this particular website that the Confessions of a Former White Hat. Now, what happened previously before I joined the network is there was a MK Ultra asset named Chris Neal, who ended up being, they said it was a suicide, but even Duncan O'Finian, who's also allegedly was sparred by Kerry Cassidy as being a super soldier, he prefers to call himself a CIA augmented admin. See, Kerry Cassidy has coined the super soldier terminology because she interviewed Max Spears, who has also had a suspicious death, and as well as James Casbolt, who is also associated to Miles Johnston. Are you following me here on this deal?
Yeah, and of course James Casbolt was serving time at an HM prison in the UK. He will be released, I think, in June.
Yes, possibly, but now they've moved him to a maximum security again. I believe that's because he has leaked or communicated with somebody and made threats against other women that are associated with the reason why he's in prison in the first place.
So another beautiful character. Yep, go on.
Okay, yes. All right. So now, a while back when I was on Revolution Radio, Nighthawk kind of freaked out on the channel, and he was listening to an MP3 by a man who I believe went by the name of Sonny Eugene, or I'm thinking Lee Beck. I'm missing on the name, but it was a recorded conversation of Roxy Lopez, where he was questioning Roxy whether or not she was aware that there were all these different servers throughout California that were associated between Project Camelot and Revolution Radio. And she denied knowing any information. At the same time, the webmaster for Revolution Radio was arrested for child pornography. This is a fact. This really happened during the time that I was on the network. And God, I thought I had this on silent, and apparently it wants to make noise. Okay. I got a little distracted
No, it's
there.
okay. So you were saying there, so the owner of the radio station, online station, was arrested for child pornography.
The webmaster was
sorry,
okay,
yeah,
and
yeah.
there was a woman also named Kat Jenkins who was on. I saw her on a news clip because she was involved in it because she was living with him in the same place when it happened. She subsequently left the radio network. Now she was part of the administration on it. So all this kind of went down, and there was Stephen D. Kelly at one point pointed out to Nighthawk, Mike Ringley, that on Facebook he goes, where there's pedo smoke, there's pedo fire. And Nighthawk, I was still a host on the network at that time. And because of my closeness to Stephen D. Kelly, Nighthawk approached me and brought this up to me. And he says, well, I'm going to sue Stephen. I said, well, do you want me to tell him? And he said, no. Well, basically that was a setup and I knew it. So of course I went and told Stephen. Stephen sat on it for a while. And then I got wind of also through a Skype conversation on American Freedom Radio about Revolution Radio's association to potential some more child type of pornography type of situation. Now, I can't verify this for sure that it's actually really true or not. All I can say is that there was a conversation about it and I investigated it somewhat. I told Stephen that. Stephen made another post on Facebook. Subsequently, after that, Nighthawk fired me from the radio network, which I wasn't getting paid anyway, so how is it that you get fired from a job that you're not getting paid for? Anyway, so I'm just giving this background because years later, a couple years later, I get an email from a man named Ben Duchesnes who claimed to be a higher up in ICANN, and he was following domains and subdomains that are associated with each other. And he basically said it's pretty much money laundering over the internet. He showed me some photos of screenshots of their traffic on the internet. And a light bulb went off on my head because I remembered the previous conversation, the previous time where Mike Ringley was freaking out about this conversation about Kerry Cassidy and him having these servers. Well, what I've discovered, through this and through looking at this evidence for a really long time is that it goes all the way back to Google and mainstream media publications like Veterans Today and other types of, I'm not going to go through all of them. But they are linked in domains. There's like a server that can have various domains, and they have like a chain of links of tags and words that go to a final.com. That's how they're trafficking whatever traffic, wherever it's going to, wherever that money is going to is done. Now, if you look at the screenshots, you'll see former White Hat, Michael Hemmingson, Revolution Radio, Mike Ringley, Kerry Cassidy, Project Camelot, Project Avalon, Bill Ryan, Robert Stanley, Idlewild Group. Idlewild Group is a big deal. I found screenshots of Revolution Radio going, the Idlewild Group says thank you. Well, the Idlewild Group is connected to former White Hat, which is connected to Michael Hemmingson, who, by the way, Michael Hemmingson's not even his real name, that's a pen name. And when I mentioned the Chris Neal person, he was outing Michael Hemmingson as being, because nobody knew who wrote former White Hat, Confessions of a Former White Hat. He found out that it was Michael Hemmingson and also questioned why Kerry Cassidy was associated with them. Now, I've done several shows investigating all of this and finding the chart. When I did the show on Michael Hemmingson, I have a screenshot of it. Mike Ringley tried to call me 30 times that day and outed Kerry Cassidy as paying for former White Hat. So Kerry Cassidy's been behind all of this the whole time. And I'm just finding out that these subdomains are connected. They've all been connected this way. Through that, I discovered through Ben's research, which you can see online. I just did a video about it yesterday, going over one of his videos and reading every single thing in it, because the video is just words and images. because English is Ben's second language. He's French Canadian. So I went and read each one. You can see where Ralph Almagron, who is Alex Collier now, was actually in prison for 4 counts of felony against the IRS. He was actually taking people's social security numbers and using them illegally. All right, Robert Stanley from Unicus magazine was friends with Alex Collier, or Ralph Almagron, before both of them became part of this media, being UFO disclosures. All right, and they are also linked as the Idlewild group, because Alex Collier was from Idlewild with a bunch of other people that are nefarious, doing nefarious activities. And they've all been running this little scam, with the front being that they're UFO people and part of the alternative media. That's what it looks like.
And what's the actual money there? What's the money being generated from, and where's it going?
Well, I'm not sure. That's the part that I don't know. But a lot of it is pornography. And again, I'm not being a prude about it. But they do have some interesting domain names like boypenis.com, bestiality. There's another thing that I'm going to say it, but it's shutthefuckup.com. They're linked to all kinds of things. Some of the links actually take you to Google, so it's a beast. It looks like, and it's not just him, but it's also Randy Moggins from Off Planet Radio. Miles Johnston has it going on, although Randy Moggins and Miles Johnston's websites do not necessarily link up with Carrie Cassidy's group. Carrie Cassidy is definitely Idlewild Group, Mike Ringley, freedomslips.com, former White Hat, Michael Hemmingson. That is often, I could even show you, and I mean, if you want, you can intersperse this in later footage.
Yeah, I think we should put some stuff on the screen so that people can see right now. And also as well, who's to say this information that you've got is not just been planted by someone that wants some revenge on these people?
It could be, but there is another website, another video of Ben where he puts it in, where he's searching it and it pops up. It's so prevalent. Each one of these people have been contacted by Ben already, and I've also seen their conversations with one another.
And what's been the sort of basis on that conversation?
Well, Randy Moggins is very insulting about me, to be honest with you. In his comments, both Randy Moggins and Miles Johnston have put out videos about it, but they're all over the place, and it's basically, in my opinion, a deflector as to what's really going on. Randy Moggins has had contact with Ben Duchesne's way before I even came in the picture. Carrie Cassidy has also been contacted about this. She's perfectly aware of it. And the thing that Ben says that he finds interesting is all of them, you would think that they would be concerned that something like this was happening around them, but they all seem to attack him, attack everybody around, make up stories, try to do whatever. I haven't heard a peep from Carrie Cassidy. Carrie Cassidy hasn't said a thing. The person who seems to come after me right now is Miles Johnston publicly, Mike Ringley, as well as Randy Moggins.
Okay, and I'll go back to it as well. I mean, it's very interesting what you're saying, but when you go when accusations are made towards people, right? Mm-hmm. And where is the proof? Do you know what I mean?
I have the proof. The proof is that you can see the actual web domains. The proof is that there's a series of investigations that Ben has already done where he's connected the dots. He researched about Ralph Almagron. And he's showing screenshots of conversations that are redacted between Robert Stanley and Alex Collier, etc.
Where's that information?
It's online, and I just did a video where I mirrored one of his videos. I'm going to do two more of them too as well.
Okay, so if we put the links in the description below where this information is available from. If we say link, do you want to give the link some names or something so that people know to look? The website on YouTube is called. Let me pull it up here. Sure.
Mark a Big Mess, I believe is what it is. Okay, I'm just scrolling. Where did I have it? Okay, Mark a Big Mess, right here. The one that I mirrored is called Round 50, the family reunion. And you could basically see all of it. Now this one doesn't show you how he puts the information in, but this is one of them. And again, I've been communicating with Ben for a year and a half now. He sends me a current shot, and this actually goes, like I said, it goes to the mainstream media. It goes to major gurus that are part of the domain naming industry.
For what point then? Where's the money in all this? If where does the money take us for?
Well, I'm not sure where the money takes us to, but they're definitely using Carrie Cassidy, former White Hat, and all these different people as part of the traffic and a part of the See, if you were, let me bring this up. If you look at this and look at the highlighted area on that, where it says, it'll say Idlewild Group, former White Hat, Carrie Cassidy, all these things are already tags on the internet anyways. So whatever their mainstream websites are, they're linked to these other .coms. And wherever that, and some of these types of screenshots will also be connected to bestiality. Here's what Bill Ryan, corrupt dick. Bill Ryan, Project Camelot. There's also David Wilcock, Divine Cosmos is in one of them.
But these could have just been set up to make them look as though...
But there's tons of them. There's so much of it with different .coms at the ends of it where it's starting that it doesn't seem like it's a one person time hit. It seems like it's a knowing, it's deliberate and it's being done up. It's not just like meta tags. They're actually domains that connect to.
But why would you be so silly to use your actual names and stuff like this? I mean, you would go by aliases. You wouldn't put names that are traceable back to yours if you were shifting money
because
this way.
Maybe they didn't think they were ever going to get caught. I mean, think about it. That's a good question. Why would you use your own evidence?
Yeah, unless someone's purposely just setting you up for those who would follow such evidence to make it look like it's real, and it's not.
Yeah, but who's following it other than someone like me?
Someone like you has caught onto it.
What?
Someone like you has caught onto this, and you have rattled some cages.
But the only reason why Ben's contacted me is because I'm associated with them.
Right.
Okay, he knew that I.
And how trustworthy is Ben?
You know what? A good question.
Yeah.
That is a very good question. I couldn't really, say for sure, how trustworthy is he? But I'm getting a better. But what does stand out to me is the awful reaction that these guys, that the people who are being questioned have had. Like, for example. I'm going on the fact that I had a relationship with these people that was fairly good in the beginning. Matter of fact, excellent.
With Miles, with Carrie.
I've interviewed Miles before. Okay, I've interviewed Miles twice. I've actually, I worked with Revolution Radio. I had a Saturday night show on the network.
So why couldn't they have come to you in a more sensible manner?
I have also worked
saying?
with Randy Moggins. I've been on his show. He's been on my show.
Okay,
we have mutual friends. So why couldn't he have come in and cleared his name?
If you came to me with that stuff, I would come on and I'd be like, well, as I am right now,
exactly,
it's not true. I can honestly say that what you've got there, but then it's only my voice to say it's not true. I can't prove, once someone's put that out there, I can't prove 100% it's not true, but then what have I got to lose by coming on to say that is just not genuine? If someone's demeanor and the way they come across would show that there's some authenticity there, that whatever's being presented is not true. Do you know what I mean?
I got trolled all over my internet. Okay, when I started stumbling on this, it's almost like I literally woke up the next day and I had people all over my social media that come from Revolution Radio harassing me, saying stuff on my social media. Miles Johnston trolled me. They all trolled me. None of them came out and said, "Oh, Terry, I want to have a conversation with you."
Did you invite them to come on to begin with?
I did.
Before I publish this, I'm going to get you to just talk about it. Or did you
okay,
just
what
release
happened?
it?
What happened was when this all went down, the first thing that happened was I spilled the beans on it, in a way, and I'm not sure, and I feel bad about this, and I've even said it. I was under a lot of distress at the time that I was contacted and looking at all of this information that was going on.
Yeah.
When I looked at this information, I had re-edited a video about Max Spears, and I found some inconsistencies on how our own media was covering what happened. And I felt like they were at some point trying to telegraph him as being an addict or that it was a drug overdose.
Yep.
When I did this, I got a woman that is another host on Revolution Radio very, very excited about it, Christine Joanna Hart, and she started coming at me personally and through my Facebook and my social media and things like this. That was the first thing that started to happen, just from re-editing a video that I had done previously before.
Nothing to do with this, just
right.
So
causing me some personal distress at the time, witch spells and all kinds of craziness going on. Then I was doing a show on Truth Cat Radio, which is owned by Stephen D. Kelly, who also was the host from Revolution Radio, the little circle here. And I was sending him this information privately on Skype. He never he never made a comment about it. Then in the middle of my show, halfway through, he brought it up while I was on air, and I spilled the beans and started talking about it. That was the first thing that came out, where I was talking about it, and then I started getting harassed about it. Oh, it's not true, it's not this, it's not that, it's not blah, 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 blah. But I did say to Randy Mogan through a mutual friend of ours, and also I said it publicly that if it's not true, come and talk to me about it.
Yes, just an
and
email,
there was nothing.
Yeah.
And then the other person turned on me and said that I was slandering them and blah 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 blah. And,
I can kind of understand that, right? But but if you had done that to me, and that information was out there about myself, what else could I do but just to say, well, that's not true. I don't know what that is. That's got nothing to do with me.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I've had conversations with Nighthawk about it. I mean, they've all tried to give me some excuse as to what it is.
And what was the sort of
Well,
general excuse?
one of them was Nighthawk was like, "Oh, I can just do a meta tag on anything, blah blah blah. This is nothing." But and then made an example of it. And then I asked him, I go, "Oh, well, why are you doing this? Is this causing more traffic to your network? I mean, what would be the purpose of doing something like that?" He never responded. All right, this was through emailing that happened on my YouTube channel, which I have screenshots of. I've taken screenshots of every single conversation, not every single one, but basically like their reactions to me, I have actually kept a file on.
It's almost like that. What you've got there is, if someone wanted to take this group out, then there was always something in the background to release, just to say, look, put this out there now, and they've had their time on the circus. I don't know. I'm not clever enough to work out what you've got there.
I don't think that's the problem. It's even taken myself a while to understand it. And so,
do you know what would be great? To have a neutral IT guy here that really knows his stuff, right? And then to go through the evidence.
That apparently was Ben. I mean, but he's not willing to talk.
No, if he's not willing to talk, that you don't. How do you verify? You can't verify anything, can you? Do you know what I mean? If he's the guy that's putting this out, he's not willing to talk because
not publicly.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. I mean, like, because he says that he has to protect himself.
Well, probably I can understand that, right? If this is true, right?
Right.
But yeah, there should be an IT guy that comes along to verify that information independently and can say, all this is either rubbish or, oh yeah, no, these do connect like he's saying it does. Do you know what I mean?
Then, you know, I should look for that IT guy to verify that that's what it really is. I will tell you this right now, before this interview today that we're doing at the moment, a few days ago, Stephen D. Kelly contacted me. He's outing this as, you know, being exposed soon. And he was really like, I want you to give me the way the traffic is or what names are associated, blah, 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 blah. And I was like really busy. And I said, you know, look, I've got this, this, and this. And, you know, so I find it odd that all of a sudden he is, you know, somewhat pressuring me to give him information for him to talk about on his channel, like what has activated him to want to take this you know, information,
right,
and put it out. I mean, I realized that a year and a half ago, you know, we talked about it, but this is, you know, I've definitely still been looking at it. The reason why I'm looking at it so much, the consistency that I can see in association to what you're talking about with Mark Richards, is that Carrie Cassidy is surrounded by people who have been to prison before. I have an actual photograph of a screenshot of a redacted conversation of Robert Stanley saying that Carrie Cassidy was told about Alex Collier changing his name to Ralph Emigron. That she does associate herself with people that, again, like it even said then, like, oh, Carrie Cassidy likes to hang out with these types of individuals, which means that she may have already a knowingness of the type of people that she's presenting as authentic UFO disclosures. Despite the actual web domains and the subdomains and the possibility that, you know, this is all made up and everything, and the traffic, and, you know, there not be anything there. The fact that Alex Collier lived in Idlewild, which is one of the tags, the fact that Nighthawk wanted to tried to call me 30 times after I did a show about Michael Hemmingson and tracing back to Chris Neal and the death of Chris Neal, and that young man questioning why was Carrie Cassidy associating with somebody who was basically writing negative things about the assets, about MK Ultra people. And he also was writing pornography that involved, or softcore that involved, you know, characters like people who were MyLab and MK Ultra and sex slaves and things like this. Apparently, he died of a heart attack in Mexico, but there's several people that want to claim the reason why he died. See, I mean, that's the part that gets me. It's like, why the death? Why the death, and then also Revolution Radio's association to the Idlewild group, and then Nighthawk wanting to throw the responsibility off of who actually owned the former White Hat blog. I find that all to be interesting in juxtaposition, because these are comments about other videos I did about this particular topic.
And also, you know, there's a lot of heat right now. Let's just change this, but there's a lot of heat right now with people like Corey Good and David Wilcock, right? But I think this side of the field gets missed out sometimes, like the Carrie Cassidys of this field as well. You know, the Simon Parks of this field. I'm not saying Simon's involved in anything we talked about here, but the other fraudulent people that you've been covering that are not, you know, it just doesn't seem to be as, you know, as excitable as Corey Good. You know, we've missed that there's another gang here that's just as problematic in this awakening truth movement.
Yes. And again, the reason why what Ben showed me initially resonated with me was because of Nighthawk being so excited about that taping of Roxy Lopez and this other gentleman talking about the fact that they had servers connected and that whole subject matter. Stephen D. Kelly also has told me that at one point Stephen got fired, and then according to him, Nighthawk asked him back
Yeah.
because of the fact that they had this child pornography thing going on, and they needed to we're all going to work together, and he needed to bring back the image of what's going on. You also have Sean David Morton being a player in this, of which recently I've seen a video where she's still allowing to put up blogs on her website from him.
Carrie is,
yeah, and he's also connected and gone to prison for a tax fraud type of situation. So there's that.
But
there's
two
people. Alex Collier and him have been doing dirty dealings with the IRS, and they're UFO front people.
What I've always said, I said to you, didn't I, before this interview? I said, when you've got a platform like Project Camelot, conspiracy, the more conspiracy it is, the more fear porn it's driven by. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And the more people love fear porn, a bit like Alex Jones, complete fear porn. I find it, watchable sometimes, but I'm not looking more at the technical side of what he's doing and thinking, imagine that there was some love in that, imagine there's some light in that work that he's doing, right? But no, fear porn sells, and when you've got that type of platform like Kerry has as well, I mean, why can't you do something good with it? Why are we giving this platform to all these unsavory characters who have proven to be absolute, frauds, a lot of them? It's almost like we're getting to the point in this interview where it comes down to, is it purposeful disinformation? Is all this laundering that you maybe found set up for some other reason? Do you know what I mean? That it's just not clear right now. But
some of the links actually go all the way to the Clinton Foundation and to the deep state. So according to Ben, this is the internet's way that they do trafficking, and it looks like, we are alternative media, but from what I've been researching and the way it looks like our alternative media is still just another leg of the other media, and they're kind of collapsing together in the entire illusion of what our reality really is. And some of them have their hands in the back, money of everything. In terms of I mean, the only thing that these screenshots have done is actually validated what I was already suspecting may have been going on in the first place.
Where are you going to take this work that you've got right now? What do you do with this now? I mean, and I appreciate you coming on right now. I mean, this was an interview, I'll be honest, that I was saying to my producer, I was like, I just don't know enough about this. Do you know what I mean? What is this I'm about to walk into? And I wanted to be fair with it as well and say, there is always an opposing opinion. As much as I can't stand Kerry Cassidy right now, I'm not going to accuse her of something that I have no proof of. With the Mark Richards, I've got court documentation coming up my arse. Do you know what I mean? I've met the lead witnesses. With this, it's a little bit different. Where do you see yourself going with this?
Well, I see myself still searching for the truth about it, and still looking to understand it and put the links together as they come by and on a day-to-day basis. One of the reasons why I have been so vigilant on continuously looking at it is because of what you're doing too as well, because the fact that you are finding this part of investigating what's going on with Kerry Cassidy, that I can see that there's some sort of legitimate deception that is taking place.
Thank you.
Which
yes.
validates, the possibility that what I'm looking at is interlinked. The fact that, again, you have Alex Collier being a phony. You have Robert Stanley. I mean, they appear to look, they're not who they say they are. They did not come from the origins that we originally thought that they came from. And then again, they're also associated. And also because of how I've been treated since it's happened, and the level of personal harassment.
How bad has it been?
And the game, awful. I've had about 3 attempts on my life this year already, and people will go, "Oh, you're crazy about it," but they all seem to go back to Revolution Radio and the Sean David Morton camp. Every correlation of a scary situation I've been through, all tag back to starting the conversation around Christine Joanna Hart or some other sort of situation. Yeah. The way they have trolled me and treated me makes me like wanting to look at this and get the truth out there, because who knows?
So you're prepared to, get other experts involved in this? And
Yes, I would.
Yeah,
sure.
you're prepared to do that. And, okay, well that's fair enough then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finding an IT person to look at it besides Ben is a good idea. I would definitely. I'm not anything. I mean, if I'm wrong about this, I would be the first person to say, yeah, I don't think there's anything here. I made a mistake.
Sure.
I give all the appropriate apologies.
Perfect.
But based on the reaction and the connections and the things that I've discovered in the background, not just the screenshots, but the history of what has happened between Carrie Cassidy, Michael Hemmingson, Chris Neal, Duncan O'Finian.
But what's it say about our industry, though? If there was any truth in this, right? I mean, oh my God! I mean, this is just complete BS that these people are putting out.
I know.
It's complete disinformation.
Then it needs to come out. I mean, I know that it's. I'm not saying that everything. I personally believe that we're not the only people walking around, that the UFOs exist.
Of
that,
course.
that, I mean,
yeah.
okay.
You've got your own spiritual journey.
That's right.
And everything else.
All right, yeah. But if these people are coming out and running a scam like this and pocketing money, and they're involved with the deep state potentially, they're involved with everything that's corrupt, then they are just gatekeepers and a phony front of what's going on.
But
and
then why would the deep state want this to come out? If there was something larger at work
here. Who's to say they don't? Who's to say they want it to come out? I mean, or maybe there are white hats within everything. I mean, maybe everything isn't as we think it is. Like maybe there are some good people who are also involved in intelligence that are making an effort to do the right thing.
And see this bollocks that they're spewing into this community, and just think now that there has to be something that we could do just to put a slowdown, a brake on it.
Yeah. I mean, I just find it. I mean, because Chris Neal, the young man that I'm talking about, who I say is the forerunner before Max Spears. The death of Chris Neal was talked about, discussed online, and he was talking about Carrie and the former White Hat blog, and that is actually what's tagged in.
Well, who knows if things like this are not put out there, and they're there as a safekeeper. That if things get out of control with idiots or disinformation agents like this in our community, that something like this will always get out there. To discredit them, even though none of it's true. It's just a method of discrediting things that get out of hand.
It's a very intricate way of discrediting them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
beyond my payroll. You know what I mean? Yeah, it really is. And well, you've been very fair with them, with what you've said, I think. And what more can you ask than that?
Right.
So. Well, look, thank you for coming on today, and again, where people can find your work at.
You can find me. I'm on Facebook, Tere Joyce. You can find me on my Twitter at Tere Joyce. I'm on Instagram as well. I also have a Patreon, patreon.com//freedom of Joyce, and you can find me on YouTube.
And your show is every...
You know what? It used to be every Monday and Tuesday. I aired live on American Freedom Radio. American Freedom Radio is changing their format into video as well as audio and much smaller shows. And but so I just I have I'm archived. All of my work is archived on American Freedom Radio, and then I air sporadically.
Excellent.
On the network.
So one question I've got for you as well is, who is the Temple Set and who is Michael Aquino? Just for those in the audience that may have never heard these names before.
Okay. Michael Aquino is, Colonel Michael Aquino was a military colonel, and he has been he's a known Satanist. He also is a Temple Set, which is like a religion based around it. And apparently Michael Hemmingson was associated with it as well. Michael Aquino was under investigation for the Presidio Elementary School satanic ritual abuse of children. He was actually found not guilty, but he is also someone that Max Spears was pointing a finger to at the time before his death. He also is associated with a woman named Lorien Fenton, who was part of the marketing of Revolution Radio. Douglas Dietrich had a show on Revolution Radio, and he was his librarian. So Michael Aquino is...
That's interesting you mentioned Laura Fenton's name. Now, she's the one that put the UFO MegaCon on recently. And she's also one of Joanne Richards's, which is Mark Richards, the documentary that I'm doing right now is on Captain Mark Richards. She's one of Joanne's top supporters. And,
really?
She gets Joanne to come to her conferences and speak there and, have a booth there and everything. She backs this bullshit story. That's interesting, that link there.
Also, she produced the Super Soldier event that took place in Henderson, Nevada, that had Casbolt and Max Spears. That's where Kerry Cassidy first interviewed them. Miles Johnston was there, Stephen D. Kelly was there, apparently Michael Hemmingson was there, and Sarah Rachel Adams was at the particular event. They do claim that there was some sort of abduction. Douglas Dietrich, I've actually watched him speak in an interview how he put that together underneath Lorien Fenton and underneath the guise of Michael Aquino.
Yeah, I like Sarah Adams. I don't think she's got
I do too.
much time for all this bollocks that's out there right now either. And she knows some of the people that have been harassed by, James Casbolt as well. And I won't get into that right now, but yeah.
Yeah. So, Dave McGowan, who is no longer with us, wrote a book called Weird Scenes Inside the Canyon, where he talks about how the military-industrial complex and the CIA was part of the mamas and the papas and all that Laurel Canyon scene. He also wrote papers called Pedopocracy, and there is dialogue between him and Michael Aquino about Presidio Elementary School.
Yep. Isn't it also interesting that Kerry Cassidy talks about being MK Ultra, right? And if such thing as MK Ultra even exists, then maybe that's why she's so messed up.
Oh, I didn't know she talked about being MK Ultra.
Yeah, she does. Yeah. Well, there you go. I'll have to send you the links to the video.
Well, I did do one video, like literally yesterday on this, and I mirrored, I mirrored, because see, Ben, like I said, he's French Canadian, so he doesn't speak on his videos. But I mirrored the information and read all of the screenshots and all of the dialogue about with Robert Stanley, the whole thing with Alex Collier, and the title of it is Kerry Cassidy's Fake UFO Disclosure Internet Scam, # Project Camelot. So that's the name of the video. If when you watch it, I have a feeling that I'm hoping that it's clear to people what they're looking at and how it all intersects together. In theory, of what might be going on. I'm not saying that they're doing it for sure. I'm just saying in theory. Network.
Well, Terry, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.